Hello everybody and welcome to another Twilight Zone Retro Review. Today it is Season 1, Episode 27, The Big Tall Wish, written by Rod Serling, starring Ivan Dixon as Boley and Stephen Perry as Henry. Now, before I start going through this episode, I just want to say that it seems like this is not one of the more liked or respected Season 1 episodes, and I have to say that I kind of understand why, but that I somewhat disagree with this assessment, and I will get into that as I go along. So we start out with a boxer named Boley and a young child named Henry. They are the main characters. And we start with Boley telling a story, basically, about an old man looking for that shot at glory. And we see he's basically talking about himself, that he feels this way. And the kid, Henry, says he'll make a wish and that everything will be okay for Boley because Boley's been hurt enough. And Boley basically shrugs this off as, just a kid believing in things that don't really happen. So then we get Boley in a conversation with the child's mother, and they talk for a little bit, and we get the sense from the mother that the kid really looks up to Boley, and she thanks Boley for being so nice to him. And she tells a story about how she needed money for the rent. And, Henry made a wish, and somehow she got the money. So this leads us to believe that when this kid wishes, something really can happen. That's the significance here. And once again, Boley basically just takes it to chance and says there really is no such thing as magic. So we go to the next scene, and it's the pre-fight. And what's significant here is that Boley basically rejects a shady character who comes in that's supposed to be helping him, telling him about the other fighter, and he gets so mad at the guy that he basically almost hits him, but instead he hits his hand on a wall and he breaks the knuckles in his hand, leaving him basically one-handed for the fight. So we go to the fight at this point, and Boley is getting beat up. He actually gets knocked down, and Henry is watching this fight on TV, and basically when Boley gets counted down to the count of 9, we see Henry make a wish, and the fight reverses. The opponent is then on the mat, and he actually gets counted out, to 10, and Boley wins the fight. So Henry basically changed what happened. So after the fight, Boley is talking about how he guesses his hand wasn't broken, and, I guess the trainer was wrong about that, and, he doesn't remember how he got up from being knocked down. Well, the trainer basically tells him he was watching something different. They must have been in different places, because his hand was never broken. He was never knocked down. So we find out that the wish changed all of those things from happening. So then Boley goes to visit Henry, and Henry basically tells him, after Boley gives the whole story about what happened, Henry basically tells him that he wished the whole thing, that he was never knocked down. And, Boley doesn't believe him. He says he's been wishing his whole life and he's now too old for wishing. Henry pleads with him, tells him, you just got to believe, but Boley refuses to believe. So basically what happens is everything goes back to the way that it really would have happened. And we see Boley back in the ring, and he is counted out this time, therefore losing the fight and changing everything to a much sadder conclusion for him. So he then goes to see Henry again, who this time is in bed, and Henry tells him he's not going to wish anymore. He's too old for that. He now realizes magic and wishes don't happen. And now it's Boley who says maybe there are wishes, maybe there is magic. The problem is there aren't enough people to believe in them to make them happen. So, I could see where people, on the surface the episode is very simple, and maybe more than on the surface, maybe it is very simple. But I really feel like Serling really gets to something here. This episode has a mood and an atmosphere that just works on me. To me, it's a very touching story, about believing in yourself. And, when you do believe that things can happen, you can make them happen. And maybe that's just a very simple message, but to me, it's a message that really works in this episode. I think the acting by Ivan Dixon is very good as Bully. I think he really portrays the character well and makes you feel for him. And I like the little change at the end where even though he lost, he now says, he tells the kid maybe magic does exist. Maybe people just don't believe in it. And it's a hard episode to describe, but it just really works for me as an atmospheric, solid episode. Obviously there's nothing scientific about it, and maybe that's where people give it a hard time. It's just basically saying that you need to believe that things can happen to be true. But I think you can take it in a way, that says if you have confidence in yourself that, anything is possible, and if the whole world thought positively like this, maybe the world would be a better place. So, I realize that while not a perfect episode, that this episode is very solid, and I give The Big Tall Wish a 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5 for The Big Tall Wish. Thanks for watching.